G'day guys and welcome back to the Freo Faithful podcast, episode number Nathan O'Driscoll.
Yeah.
Yes. Any other number 30s?
Zach Clark.
Zach Clark.
Like
Yep,
him.
I was thinking Zach Clark.
Got nothing else.
Yeah, fair play. Number 30, we've done this 10 times, 3 times, if you do the maths.
Yep.
How you going, young man?
Yeah, I'm very, very good, mate. 30's a huge milestone, one we'll never forget. It'd be nice to be, recapping a massive win over Brisbane on the weekend, but no, we can't do that. So, yeah, good to be here, mate, and excited to look back on, I don't know what you'd call it. Was it a successful season? Was it not? We'll take a look in a sec, but yeah, very glad to be here.
Mate, the Suns were pathetic at the Gabba. Absolutely pathetic.
They were. It was
Honestly.
a tough watch from Gold Coast. I was watching it, and I feel like there are so many of these games where I watch and I think, geez, we could put in a better fight. But then I actually watch Fremantle and I'm like, yeah, we probably couldn't. So, hey, Brisbane were always going to win that semi-final no matter who played. But yeah, Gold Coast were pathetic and they were just making up the numbers.
I was about to say, we wouldn't have got pumped, though, and then I realised that 3 weeks ago we got pumped at home by Brisbane. So, I rest my case. So today we are going to go through and sort of summarise the entire season, sort of look at big moments throughout the year, and yeah, a bunch of stuff, what needs to change, what needs to evolve. Just basically going to tell the story of the year and what it means going forward. So, what did you sort of expect coming into the Noah? Start of 2025, missed out on finals last year. Everyone knows the story, but yeah, coming into the season, what was your mindset and expectations?
I'd be lying if I said that what we finished on would be a pass mark in preseason me's mind. I think we've fallen a little bit short of expectation in the grand scheme of things. Coming into the year, I had I think a lot of us overrated the list in hindsight, and hindsight's lovely to look back at, but I think I overrated the list a little bit. I think I overlooked a few holes we had. Well, in particular, I don't think our backline was as strong as it has been in recent years. And I think our back depth really got tested in portions of the year. And then I also think our midfield, I think we sort of looked over the makeup of what would make a real successful midfield. Like Sarong and Brayshaw both had very good years. In particular, Brayshaw had a great first half of the year. Sarong probably more so in the second half. And then obviously we didn't have Hayden Young for most of the year. So we sort of overlooked that if we had one big injury in that engine room, we were going to be cooked for a lot of the season, and we ended up being one of the worst clearance teams in the competition in 2025, which is really frustrating given we were the best in 2024 statistically. So, yeah, I think I overlooked our depth a little bit. If we just had one injury in a key area, it really tested us. And overall, I just think our ability to... just our ability to lose games that we should be winning really cost us in the end. We won so many big games. You cannot question our ability to turn up in a big game. But it was the games in the first half of the season. We started the season 4-6. We lost some games that were absolute gimmies, which we'll get into in a second. But my expectation going into the season was a lot higher than what we finished. I sort of had us at a prelim weekend. I didn't really see us going out first week of the finals. But look, hindsight's a great thing. And yeah, I do think I overrated us going into 2025.
Yeah, I sort of thought a top 4 finish was on the cards, and it probably was if we didn't start the season so poorly. Sort of playing catch up from there. We were sort of, on the brink of the 8, and then in the 8, and then, yeah, last game of the year, we didn't know if we were going to be in the 8. It was all a big kerfuffle, really. Yeah, I think what you said about our midfield is spot on. Like, as soon as Hayden Young went out, it was like, right, who's our damage forward of centre player? For a lot of the season, it was Shea Bolton, but yeah, he's a bit of an inconsistent entity. Like, he had a great year, don't get me wrong, but you don't know what Shea's going to show up. Some weeks he can win you a game, some weeks he's a little bit frustrating, which is exactly what we expected with Shea Bolton. As for the backs, though, I thought the backs, like, stock-wise, I think we're pretty good. Like, Cox, Ryan pretty much played all year, Clark. I think, having Cooper Simpson and Brandon Walker, they didn't play much footy, but when they came in, we've sort of got a little bit of depth in that area. But yeah, maybe, we lose Alex Pearce, and who's the key defender to come in, because then Luke Ryan has to play taller or whatever. So I think it would be good to strengthen with key position players at both ends of the ground in the draft. One of the biggest areas of improvement in the back line, I thought, other than, Jordan Clark, All-Australian, and Brendan Cox getting back to his best, was Kyle Warner. I did not see him becoming a genuine centre-half back at AFL level. I thought he'd be a player that, struggles to get to 100 games, sort of in and out fringe player, but the relationship and the connection that he's formed with guys like Heath Chapman down there has been a massive positive to come out of the backs. So it's probably the biggest improvement this year. And I think Brendan Cox, the football that he's played, has shown the ability to make an All-Australian team very soon. But yeah, well said. So let's go game by game, Noah. I was at the first game of the year down in Geelong. Great fun in opposite land.
Oh, yeah. To be honest, I don't remember too much of this one. You might have to fill me in. All I remember is Murphy Reid and that 6 minutes of absolute chaos. We lost the game by 78 points, but if you had a look at a stage in that third quarter with about 5 minutes to go, if my memory serves me correctly, I reckon Murph had us within 4 goals and within reaching distance of Geelong.
Yeah.
The three-quarter time margin was only 21 points. So we were really in this game at three-quarter time. The scoreboard says it was a disaster, and it probably was a disaster. But geez, we only played probably one good quarter that day, and it got us right in the game against eventually who would become the premiership favourites. So look, it's always interesting at the end of the year looking back on round one, because both Geelong and Fremantle have changed so much since then. That was Bailey Smith's first game for the club. Our makeup was completely different. We had Liam Reedy in the ruck instead of going with Jackson as solo. So yeah, both teams were completely different to what they are now. But yeah, to be honest, my memory from this game, all I can recall is Murphy Reid.
Yeah, I remember struggling to move the ball. I remember Sam de Koning giving our rucks a bath. But yeah, it was the Murphy Reid show. We had Wagner starting in defence that day. He looked shaky. I remember actually Carl Warner having an absolute stinker that day. And Chapman came on as a sub. Driscoll kicked the ball on his right foot and it went backwards. But yeah, we got a glimpse. Well, you know what's funny as well? It's not funny at all because I'm a serious Dockers man, but did that not just end up being the story of our whole year? I know we ended up getting pumped, but second half, had to go for it. Turned it up, reduced the margin. Oh, we're in for a shot here. And a lot of games we did come back and win. But against Geelong, we didn't. But yeah, Murphy Reid's probably the biggest positive to come out of this year for me. We've spoken about him a lot on the podcast this year. Slid to pick 17. Slid past his boyhood club, Richmond, who had about 5 picks before us. St Kilda were keen on him. They didn't take him. And he came over to the West. He's going to win the Rising Star. He's got the best first-year player award already. He dons the number 16 and is living up to that expectation. And then some. He's an absolute jet, putting up Cyril Rioli numbers in his first year, goal assists coming out of the wazoo. He's becoming the master of the no-look, ridiculously high-level skilled handball, as well as his kicking inside 50. We spoke about Murphy Reid so much, but what more can you say about the boy?
Yeah, that silly handball thing he's got going. I remember he pulled it off a few times in the Port Adelaide game and the second derby. They're the two games that... The Port Adelaide game, the Adelaide Oval, I can remember him doing it a lot. And then the second derby. He just does these... He's so clean for an AFL player, let alone a first-year player. If Sarong or Brayshaw or any of these blokes had the level of cleanliness that Murphy Reid has, which I'm not saying they don't, then I would be very, very happy. He's got a superstar level of cleanliness. And to come into such a high-paced and tough environment, which is, a professional Australian rules football, the way he adapted was out of this world. And as you said, he will be the rising star. In that first game, he said it himself. He only had about one disposal up until that 4-goal spurt. And that 4-goal spurt set him up for the whole year. I reckon it really gave him confidence. I mean, if there's not a goal to summarise Murphy's season any better, it was the first goal of his career where he just, dummy, went around the man of the mark, knocked it down from 40 on the run. It was unreal, and it really set him up for a great year. I think one individual performance that really went under the radar, I'd put it in top 5 individual performances from a Docker this year, was his derby performance. And it really was the game where we all knew he was serious, but that was a game where I was like, geez, this guy could be anything. He had 23 disposals, a goal, and it was the 15 score involvements which caught everyone's eye. He just gets involved in every single scoring chain. And his ability to, because even you look at a big game and you think, it's a first year player, he might struggle a little bit. How will he live up to the intensity? I even thought about it in the final. Finals footy is completely different to regular season footy. And he just took it in his stride. He's just had such composed first year AFL level. And the fact he's only going to get better is pretty bloody scary.
Yeah, the amount that he's improved just in his first year.
Yep.
Hey, we're 8 years away from Murphy Reed's prime. That's scary. So give him a 15-year deal. Lock him in.
Oh,
he might do a Zach Merritt at some point, but that's footy for you sometimes. Tie him down. He's going nowhere. Murphy Reed, story of the year for us. We're not going to go through every game in detail like this, because if you want that amount of detail of every game, we've got 29 podcasts before this that you can go back, and we've unpacked every detail.
Just quickly, I do want to take a look at round 2 quickly, because long-time Freo Faithful listeners will know that at the start of the year, I had Josh Draper in my best 22 over Brendan Cox, and it's sort of been a running thing throughout the year. Now, round 2 really solidified my claim, as Brendan Cox lost a one-on-one at the end. We led for all of the game until the last 2 minutes, and Brendan Cox lost a one-on-one on Joel Amati, and that was my final straw. I was like, geez, Brendan Cox is not a best 22 Fremantle player. And from round 3 to the elimination final, he shut me up. So a big shout out to Brendan Cox on his season.
No, we'll keep going through it round by round. We just don't have to unpack it as much. The start of the season was so frustrating, man. We were so slow out of the gates. And, after that Geelong game and the Sydney game, it was like, we all know that we're better than this. Why are we not performing at the level that we know we can? A big theme in years gone by was, slow starts in games. But having a slow start to the year, it doesn't matter if it's round 1 or 2 or round 22 or 23. 4 points are 4 points. So when you're dropping a game at home against Sydney, who ended up being pretty shit. And we dropped 2 games to Sydney. They finished the season strong, to be fair to them, but that really cost us. We just lacked real intensity early in the year. Round 3, we beat West Coast, which is always nice. But again, we didn't really play that well against West Coast, I didn't think. We got up by 38 points. From what I remember, it was just a lot of end-to-end, catching West Coast out the back. Amos had 4 that day. That sort of tells you the story, really, doesn't it? If you're deep forwards walking into open goals, I don't know. It just wasn't all that exciting, that derby. And then, where did we go after that? Round 4, Dogs at home. That was our first proper win. That felt like we arrived, because it was a genuine 4-quarter, end-to-end effort. You were at that game. I was live streaming it. But that second quarter in particular, the burst of goals, I think that's the first time I'd actually seen us really put a team to the sword when we got on top. And it was the last 5 minutes of that second quarter, we really turned it on. Sam Darcy on the other side had one of the best games of football I've seen an individual ever play. But we managed to hold on, and that was our first win where we're like, all right, we've arrived this season.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a 7-goal-to-1 second quarter that day. That was also the game. I reckon that was Andy Brayshaw's best performance since his Lee Matthews Trophy winning season. I remember him. I don't think his stat line really shows how influential he was that day. He only had 29 disposals. He kicked a goal. He got involved in so many scoring chains, and just the little things he did that day, whether it was just laying a shepherd or getting on the defensive side of his man. He just did so many little things that day that really highlighted how good Andy Brayshaw can be, because he had a down 2024, let's be honest. He didn't have a great year to his standard last year. And I think in the first half of the season in particular, and in real particular, that Bulldogs game, I think he stepped up. So, yeah, a big shout out to Andy on what was a great performance that day. A weird thing we had early in the season was the substitute. So, round 1 and 2, our subs were Heath Chapman and Josh Draper. It was something we couldn't really get sorted until the Gold Coast game in the middle of the year, where we started using Fife sub and a more experienced, bigger body in the substitute role. I think it was one of our Achilles heels in the early part of the season. We couldn't find a way to get an X factor when we really needed it. Like that Sydney game where we needed something at the very end of the game to just get us over the line. Do you really think Josh Draper was going to be the inspired choice to come on and provide us a bit of run or a bit of experience? I think that was a really the interesting thing that JL and the coaching staff got wrong at the start of the year. So I'm happy we fixed it towards the middle part. And another thing, just on the first 5 weeks of the season as a whole, was how good was Nathan O'Driscoll to start the season. He was playing bulk midfield time. He was using his big frame and he was using his speed to just burn off his opponents. And I think we sort of summed it up in the last podcast when we were reviewing the Gold Coast game. I just don't think he's a winger. We both, I think, can agree that he's a midfielder, and we've just got so many midfielders in that mix that it's hard to get him any time in there. But he could have been of such use to us in the back end of the year in that midfield role if we just used him a little bit better.
That's the thing though. Who do you take out to get an O'Driscoll in there?
Well, Matt Johnson wasn't playing. He got injured in that Collingwood game, and we needed a bigger body in there. And yes, Neil Erasmus did a good job whenever he went in there, but he was playing wing most of the time. I think Noddy could have done played such a huge role in those last 5 weeks of the season.
I don't think Noddy is a big body. Like, he might be tall, but he's not got a whole bunch of strength. Like, he's not.
He's got the frame. Like, I see him being able to play that type of role.
There's a difference between having the frame and being Patrick Cripps. You know what I mean? Like,
well, Patrick, Paddy Cripps. Yeah.
I know, but what I'm saying is, like, there's big bodies and then there's strength. And, like, yeah, Noddy's got to go and have a massive off-season. The wing position, as I would know as a player that played on the wing for the Div 12 Rezzies this year, it's a lonely place to be, Noah. The wing. It's very lonely because you're basically one-on-one with a bloke all day out in a paddock of space. And if you lose your one-on-one battle, you get exposed. And like when you go on ball, which I wouldn't know because I didn't go on ball once because I'm a terrible footballer, someone like Noddy has the leadership around him in there with Sarong or Brayshaw or Young, whoever it is, Bolton, that can sort of guide him and they can bring their strengths to help bring Noddy into the game as well. He was drafted as a non-ball midfielder, and I'm sure at the exit meetings he would have suggested playing more time on ball, and I'm about it. I want to see it, but yeah, we need to figure out that midfield mix. Could he play half forward flank? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Nah,
I don't really see that skill set in him, to be honest. I know he lined up on the half-forward flank a little bit towards the back end of the year. But I think we were just throwing him around a bit there for the sake of it. I just don't see that in him, to be honest.
We're going to have to find a place for Nathan O'Driscoll. Another positive to come out of the start of the year that we missed is Isaiah Dudley. Yeah. Like, he's not going to, be the next Eddie Betts or whatever, but he could be. He's been handy. There's been games where he hasn't done a lot, but he's a first-year player. But there's also been games where he's just been electric. So, good little signing there. The SSPs have treated us very well. Wagner, Vossi, and young Dudley. So, he was a great addition this year, young Duds.
Yeah, he certainly was. And I just think whenever he had a down game as well, there wasn't this overreaction from the fan base. It just every single time we said, geez, imagine what he'll be with the preseason, though. And he's now got that preseason that he's about to have. And I think he's one of those players that's really set for a big 2026. You remember, like, he came in, I think, the day of the Indigenous All-Stars game, which was only about 3 weeks before the start of the season. Oh, true. So, like, he literally had no time at the club before the season even started, basically. So, with a preseason, I think Duds could actually be one of those players that shoots up into the best 22.
We'll see. We will see. Hope it's not just like another Tom Emmett story. Like, had a few good games and then, has a stinker season, then gets delisted. Because bit of a fan favourite, I reckon, Dudley. And in that elimination final, had good moments, got us back into the game. So another positive at the start of the year there. You went to Gather Round. Josh Tracy emerged at Gather Round, kicked 6, sorry. Bit of a stinking first half. But I sort of expected the Tigers to be competitive that day. They were, and then we sort of run over them in the end. And yeah, did that get the run of wins going? Oh no, that was our last win before we started stinking it up.
Yep. Yeah, it certainly was. Talking about stinking, it was stinking hot. I reckon it was 37 degrees that day. It was one of my least favourite days of the football ever, I'll be honest. I was sitting in a metal stand. I reckon I was right next to the sun. I was at the very back. It was absolutely horrific. You actually
Alright,
have to leave
mate.
the city.
Cry me a river.
Mate, no, I will cry you a river. You have to leave the city at 7 a.m. to get to the ground. You get dropped off in a bloody grapevine. It was one of the all-time, not shit days of the football. It was unique.
Alright.
Jeez. Anyway, Josh Tracy certainly turned up to gather around. He kicked 6 goals. And
Josh Tracy was hot that day.
yeah, he was great. That's a really good value. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those games where it's just like, what can you take from it? We beat Richmond, yip-de-doo.
Yeah.
It was our biggest win of the season by margin, if that's something to take. But yeah, look, it was. There's not much to take from it.
There you go. That's a good point. We have not pumped a team all year except for Richmond. That was our only 50-plus point win.
Well, the fact
We're on
we've
by
kicked
61
100 and
that
kept a team to under 50, like that's probably the only time we did that all year. And we played West Coast twice, so that's pretty shit.
Why can't we do that every week, honestly?
Every
How hard
week,
is
every
it?
single week without fail.
Why? That's what I'm expecting heading into next year. Just beating teams by 60 points.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a weird period because that was considered, I don't know if it was a home game, but we played 2 away games in a row. Went to Melbourne, and like Melbourne were 0-5 at that stage. They lost to Essendon at Gatherround, who, you know, we've seen the season that Essendon have had as well. So we went into that like heavy favourites, and that was a bit of the theme of the year as well. When we had our backs against the wall and people sort of counted us out, we showed up. Dogs game, the Collingwood game, Gold Coast, GWS, where we weren't really given a sniff. That's when we played our best. But it was against like Sydney at home, St Kilda away, Melbourne away, that we just absolutely stunk it up. Being at that game, Max Gawn just took the biscuit, as did Cozzy, who we thought at that stage could be playing for Freo next year. Signed a fat deal. Let's hope he does a Zach Merritt and forces his way out because he is a star. I don't think we saw much of Josh Draper after this game because Cozzy gave him a bath. We didn't have a matchup for him. We sort of stormed home late, only ended up losing by 10 points. But we just couldn't respond any time we kicked a goal or like we'd kick 2, the D's would just get 1. But yeah, the sort of defensive profile that we've held our hat on, I don't know if that's the saying, but for the last few years, you sort of started to realise that like our midfield isn't as good as last year, and as a result, our backs are under more pressure. That Melbourne game epitomised that, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing I really remember is that every time that we scored a goal, they would win a clearance straight away and kick one back. We literally just couldn't back up one of our goals with a clearance, and that's sort of why we were just chasing them for the entire game. Poor old Josh Draper. I mean, fair enough, he got dropped the next week, and we didn't really see much of him for the rest of the year. But Heath Chapman was laid out this game, and he was the locked-on matchup for Cozzy Pickett. And Heath Chapman goes out. Josh Draper's got told 40 minutes before the game, yep, you're on Cozzy. And he's just been talking absolute lessons. So I've got a bit of sympathy for Josh Draper. I think if Chapman played that game, given we only lost by 10, we probably would have won. But, you know, too many if, buts, or maybes there. Also, a few other things. Luke Jackson got injured in that Richmond game the week before, so we had no Dogger for that game. And who, you know, over the first half of the season was one of our best players, if not our best. And then Paddy Voss whacked Nick Floston the week before as well. And that was before Paddy Voss sort of started to become the superstar that he's becoming. But it still was a fair loss given he'd played 4 weeks in a row and that was the structure we were building around. So, yeah, no Jackson, no Voss, sort of killed our forward line. We did well to score 97, to be fair, on the day, but there are a few little things where, you know, a more experienced Melbourne team, I'd say, not a better Melbourne team, but a more experienced team sort of caught us off guard.
They had their backs against the wall that day. That was a big game. There was talk that Goody would have been sacked if they lost. But good point. No Dogger, no Vossi. That's big. We went home the next week. We played the Crows, who are now out of finals as well. Sort of crumbled under the finals pressure. We played well that day. We took the foot off the gas in the 4th. But it was one of our better home wins against a good outfit. And then it was the next week, Noah. The first Freo game I've ever left early. St Kilda at Marvel, had my family over. They were like, we'll pick a fixture to come and watch the footy with you this year. Family come over. You know, I thought the Adelaide game was a bit of a turning point. Thought we sort of matured a bit, bounced back well after the D's loss. And oh my God, I've never seen such a pathetic performance in my life. only two blokes that could hold their head high that day were Luke Ryan and Alex Pearce. But other than that, you could honestly have just sacked them all off after that. And that was really like the biggest probably moment of the season, to be honest. The amount of talk about JL and the method and where the club's at and starving for success. The media was all over us. That was a stinky period. The 2nd of May. May it never happen again.
Yeah, it was absolutely horrific. Just quickly back on the Adelaide game before I do get into that stink fest. That was frustrating in hindsight because we were up by 42 at 3/4 time, 80-38. And as you mentioned, we took the foot off the gas in the 4th quarter and didn't put a really good team to the sword like we should have. From the very first bounce, our pressure was manic and we were all over the Crows, and we were for 3 quarters until, I'm not sure if we ran out of gas or just couldn't be asked, but for some reason, in the 4th quarter, we just didn't rock up. So that's a really frustrating thing. To be up by 42 at 3/4 time, only win by 17. That's something we can very easily fix, I feel like, going into next year, because it's a mindset thing. It is purely a mindset thing. It's not skill. We know they've got the skill. We know they've got the ability to put on that pressure. We know they've got the fitness. We've run teams to the ground this year. It's just a mentality thing to put a team to the sword.
You said, do we run out of gas or what was it that day? No, like as you said, it's completely mindset. It's like, oh, we've won this, we're sweet. But like at the end of the day, we finished 6th, which was 6% behind GWS. So we were level on points with Collingwood, who were top 4. And it's like, if you just finish that game strong and beat West Coast how you meant to beat West Coast, and don't give Essendon a look at it at home, like, we could have just finished top 4 if, like, just a bit of sort of strong-headedness, staying focused, not getting complacent. And you made another point there, like, do we run out of gas? I thought a feature of our season, sorry to cut you off and go on a massive tangent, I thought you made good points there. We are a very fit team. Like the preseason that we did, a big feature of our season was being able to come from behind and win and be the better team over the course of 4 quarters. So very happy with the fitness and the strength and the preseason that went into 2025. What I'm not happy with, Noah.
Oh, no.
Who's this Phil Merriman?
Yeah, the Merriman.
The high performance dude. Get in the bin, mate. Who are you? What are you doing?
Oh,
what the fuck?
I tell you what, if the West Coast injury list just shrinks next season and ours
it
builds
will,
up,
dude.
He was, ever since he's been at the club, we've had like the shortest injury list in the league, like for multiple years. So he has done a brilliant job, and a massive ability, as you just mentioned, of what we've had in 2025 is our ability to run teams to the ground. So, mate, I went and watched Freo train in January and February. I was gassed watching us, let alone them running. It was filthy. It was the hottest per summer I can remember, first and foremost.
Oh, here he goes about the heat again.
It was absolutely filthy. Oh, look at you in your little 3-story mansion in Melbourne, in the cold.
What does that mean?
I'm not sure what point I was trying to make there. But you get what I'm saying. That's a big loss for Phil Merriman, and he is target number 1.
Our GM, Joe Bridie, came out and was like, oh, yeah, Phil's off. He's going to, chase some opportunities. So, like, all the best. And it's like, oh, yeah, probably been in the AFL for a while. Maybe he wants to go back over to Victoria. Might have, get a big job at Collingwood or whatever it is. He might have been offered a job in the Premier League. No, he's just gone to just gone over to Victoria Park. He's just got to go and tell Harley Reid to, swing his arms through when he's trying to teach him how to sprint. Like, I don't know if West Coast just don't have any star players to pay anymore. So they're just like, all right, here's all the money, high performance, man. But I remember, like, when was it? There was maybe 2020 or 21. Like, our injury list was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're playing, like, Ryan Nyhouse and just a bunch of Steph Gyros and Mitch Crotons, like, actual potato players. And then
Mitch
he's
Croton's
come in.
not a potato, by the way. He's someone I'll always hold in my heart.
I liked Mitch Croton. But yeah, just frustrating. And those pieces, like, obviously you look at the 22 that are on the field, but as we've seen with our midfield, was it Boyd that left to join Collingwood? Our midfield coach?
Yeah, it was. Yep.
Yeah, so
and
like, small pieces like that, they make a big difference. So. Bit of a tangent there. Sorry to cut you off, Noah, but frustrating times.
Now, just quickly, before I do go back on to what I was talking about, I've got a quote here from the Merriman. My family and I were planning to head into state, then this golden opportunity came up to work with this group and this club. It was something that I just couldn't
This
pass
group!
up. Shut up! What do you mean, this club? Oh, this amazing club with such a massive future. Far out. So he's from Melbourne, by the way. He is from Melbourne. He was going to go back home, but no, he's chosen to leave a very set environment to go and work in an absolute shit show. It is just baffling to me. So look, the Merriman is the number one man on the target list for Freo Faithful in 2026.
You know, you see a bit of on-field biff sometimes with past players like Rory Lobb. Could we see our runner, Jacko Dennis, just go toe-to-toe with Phil Merriman?
How do you know Jacko Dennis? I've never heard of him in my life.
He's the head S&C at Freo, bro. See, this is why I do a Freo pod. I know the ins and outs, dude.
That is ridiculous.
Have you seen it?
Ball knowledge.
He's a good runner. He's a good runner and a highly regarded strength and conditioning coach. But I've just dropped my pen. I don't know who's going to step into that role. But to say a golden opportunity emerged, mate, just say they tripled your salary.
Yeah.
You weren't wowed by the prospect of joining West Coast, mate. And this group, it's the worst group of players the AFL's ever seen, lad.
Oh,
like,
mate,
actually,
it really ruffled my feathers when I heard that. To be honest, I don't think a fan base has ever been more rattled by a high-performance manager leaving. But it just... You dropped your pen again, well done. But it just goes to show that... hands off. It just goes to show what a fan base we are. Anyway, back... You know, you went on a tangent, and I went on a tangent. But back to the point I was originally making. We can't put teams to the sword, given we only put Richmond to the sword in the entirety of the year, and we should have done to Adelaide. And then we roll into Marvel. You roll into Marvel. And, you know, we've just beaten Adelaide, a very good team at the time. They were on a good little streak. They only lost like 4 or 5 games in the regular season. We won one of those. You know, it was a good win. You know, it's the start of the week and you're thinking, geez, Fremantle play on Friday night, standalone, national broadcast against the mighty Saints. There'll be a big crowd at Marvel, I'm sure. And I'm excited all week. I get home from school on the Friday, buzzing. I remember ordered a pizza that night before the watch along or before the stream. It was a brilliant night. Before the football started, the football started and we scored 7 points and a half. As you mentioned, Alex Pearce, Brandon Cox, the only two that can really hold their heads high. Corey Wagner as well, laid 16 tackles. They're the three I'd probably say. But yeah, you could really tell from the start we were off. We were so off, and in fact, my power went out during the third quarter. If that wasn't a sign that I needed to stop watching this football match, I don't know what was. So we basically both stopped watching from 3/4 time onwards. I mean, you had a choice, I didn't. But far out. This was the game that made us question the future of this football club. We started questioning Simon Garlick, Justin Longmuir, the whole hierarchy. It got a bit feisty on the podcast that week, but geez, what an absolute shit show.
Man, I was thinking this on my drive today, thinking about like what we're going to talk about on the podcast, and it's actually crazy what thoughts run through your mind after a loss like that. Like, you genuinely question your entire commitment and purpose of life, especially when you run a Freo fan channel. It's like, why do I have to front up and talk about these plebs? But you said I rolled into Marvel. I rolled out pretty quickly. I was at the pub about half an hour away in Richmond and saw Quinton Narkle kick a goal. Like, by the time the game was done, I was out of there pronto. The week after, the red hot Pies, they swung out about 7 players for that game and lost to Geelong the week before. So not red hot, but Collingwood always a tough outfit. They beat us at home, but we got on top of the key performance indicators like clearances, field position, inside 50s. We just kept kicking it long all day, and it was like, I think you said it on the podcast the week before, like, there's no such thing as an honourable loss or some shit. Or, like, why don't we have honourable losses or something like that? And then the next week we have, like, good effort, boys. Didn't get the 4 points. But from then, Noah, that's where things changed. Because I sort of gave up on the season after that. I was like, we've lost just absolute.
You didn't even watch the next game, did you? You were playing footy from memory.
Yeah, that was a good night. That was a good night. Yep.
Yep.
But yeah, GWS, that was probably the best we played all year, wasn't it? And that's where the run of wins come from.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I said it on the last pod that this was my favourite win of the year. I think this was our best win of the year. Just from how we played from quarter 1 to quarter 4, our backs were against the wall. We just had no chance. And then it goes to show that we play our best football, unfortunately, when we've got no expectation. The Giants had massive expectations to win this game. We were 4-6. We saw this as a free hit, and this really started the run into finals. Up until the end of the season. It was Shea Bolton's best game to date in a Fremantle jumper. He had 24 touches, 3 goals. Took the absolute piss from the midfield and in the forward half. But yeah, this game, to be honest, from the very start, we were using the ball quick. We were using the ball quickly from halfback. We were taking on the corridor. We were very, very rarely going to the skinny side. It was just an absolute 100% Fremantle trademark performance. If I could describe how I want Fremantle to play for 4 quarters, week in, week out, it is this Giants game. Cooper Simpson was a massive part of it. Him and Jordan Clark off halfback were just those driving forces that really kick-started our ball movement. I think Cooper Simpson got injured the week after, if not a couple of weeks later, against Port. So, yeah, that was a game which I was really hoping we could build our season off, but it just seemed like we fell back on our laurels after that and started going a little bit more safe again in the following weeks. But as a whole, that Giants game was the one where, I think the boys could really hold their hat up high on it. And I was disappointed we didn't kick on in that manner.
Hold your hat high, Freo. Noah Unkovic kind
of. Oh, jeez. It's not a saying, is it?
It's easy for me to say in my 3-story cold mansion in Melbourne, but we'll keep rolling.
Mate, you said something questionable earlier. I can't recall, but it's a saying that just doesn't exist, and I let it fly by. So how about we just pipe down for a second?
Mate, imperfectness is what makes the podcast good, mate. So keep him coming. As he chokes on his water. Brilliant. Luke Jackson was really good that day as well. And I'm going to say it, Noah. I'm still not sold on the double ruck. I'm not. Okay. Because this is the thing, right? Football is played from March to September, right? There's a lot of football that goes under the bridge. You get to September, you lose in the first week of finals and you're out, right? We spoke about it last week. Your vulnerabilities get exposed. If your system isn't absolutely sound every week, it'll get found out in finals. And the reason that so many people were like, oh, let's trade Darcy was because when Jackson was solo ruck, he dominated. Absolutely dominated. I think the week after as well against Port, he was probably one of the best on ground. So it's going to, I don't know how we figure it out. Maybe they can work it out. We just need to play more footy. Because, the win-loss record looks good when they're both in the side, but it just looks confusing at times. And you see how effective our midfield is when Jackson's just full on ball as a ruck. And then, Tracy or Vossi goes in there for a bit of a chop out and just throw their weight around. I don't mind that. So, bit of a, it's always going to be a talking point because we've got 2 rucks on big money. Michael Frederick had a big game against GWS. Probably the best half of football he's ever played. He is under heavy scrutiny from the Faithful after that finals performance against the Suns. However, now that I've sort of simmered down from the game, Michael Frederick did have a very good year in parts. He had a career best year, no doubt about it. Most goals, marks, all key performance indicators for Michael Frederick are up, which is great. Just has to work on that mental toughness. Just go and sit on a mountain, do some meditations with a bloke that's going to make you uber confident in your ability to be a great footballer. Because if you can play like you did against GWS more weeks than not, we're going to be a better football club for it, Michael Frederick. Get those backflips going, son. And then, the wins started coming. Port at home in the pissing down rain, 49-point win.
Bruce.
Reed kicked 4. What else happened? Not a lot. Can't really remember, to be fair.
Dogger had a great game.
Dogger had a great game. Yeah. Let's start rolling through these. Oh, the next round was probably one of our better wins of the season.
Yeah.
Gold Coast at the Gold Coast in the rain. They beat us last week, but we beat them first. So get that one up, you Gold Coast. But no, it was just the pressure and the desire to win that day that was just so hot. It was just a 22-man effort. Corey Wagner kicked his first goal. Vossi started to come of age, started hitting those iconic celebrations. Shea was elite. Brayshaw just inspiring. That was a great win.
Yeah, I think that there were so many names there. And it was in particular the names that you don't usually see, or at the time you wouldn't usually see popping up to be crucial cogs for us. Paddy Voss, Corey Wagner, Sam Swikowski. I remember Neil Erasmus having, at the time, a rare good game, or a rare game where you thought, geez, Raz really put in a good shift today. And then mixing in with that, I mean, you always speak about the bottom 6 footballers on a good team and how they make good teams. It was those that really held the performance together and got us over the line. But you can't do it without the superstars either. And that's where, Andy Brayshaw, Shea Bolton, Caleb Sarong. I think Jordan Clark, it wasn't necessarily his traditional rebounding game, but he was so tough defensively and still managed to rack up the ball a heap. It was one of those real all-Australian performances. We talked about earlier in the season, the best two-way halfbacks in the comp. I think that was a perfect display of why Jordan Clark is that. He defends as hard as he attacks. And I think that's a trait that not many halfbacks in the competition have these days. It's all just attack, where Geordie Clark is hard as nails when it comes to defending his own goals. So I think that was a real trademark game from him. And yeah, just those last few minutes, Andy Brayshaw putting his head over it, the chase down tackle from Shea Bolton, Jai Amos around the corner from 45 on an angle to ice the game. It was a game, again, we really should have won it earlier than we had it won. I remember Sam Flanders went down late, kicked a goal. Mac Andrew nearly broke our hearts like he did in the elimination final. I'm not sure why I brought that up. There was just no need to. But yeah, we should have had the game won a little bit earlier. But gee, it was a hard fought effort, and so many of our lads just put their head over the footy and got us over the line.
Yeah, no, well said, especially about Geordie Clark, who I expect to win our best and fairest. Best two-way defender in the competition. You said it well. Look at guys like Bailey Dale, Dane Zorko, Jack Sinclair, the best halfbacks in the league. No one defends as good as Jordan Clark does in that category. And he racks up the ball. We spoke about the Collingwood game before. That was probably his best game of the year. He was just absolutely everywhere. His spoils, tackling, smothers, to go along with his pace, and he does hit the scoreboard from time to time as well, Geordie Clark. So, what a man. We're only at round 13, so we should try to get through them a little bit quicker. Oh, so then the bye comes, and we have the June month of Perth football.
The WA Festival of Football. Jeez, this was... I'm sorry to cut you off, but we knew coming into this North Melbourne game that it was a danger. And I know you say we should fly by some of these dead rubber games, but I do want to speak about this North game for a sec, because
go for it.
We knew that coming out of this bye that it was going to be a danger game. And oh boy, it turned out to be a danger game. I'm not sure if it's something we'll ever be able to fix, or if it's just a permanent Fremantle bye curse. But geez, we were shit. We were so bad coming out of the bye, and I don't know where it came from. I'm not sure if it's a mindset thing, but after the bye, we ended up playing really good football for most weeks until the end of the season. That North Melbourne game, we rocked up in black and purple, all stealthy, and our good football also went stealthy because I couldn't find it. It was such a dour performance. We had to rely on a guy like Caleb Sarong to drag us over the line like he did so many times throughout the year. And it was a game where North Melbourne fans were getting all over us. It was an away game for us. It was a weird night out. That will go down as one of the most weird Fremantle games in our history. I didn't know what was happening that night.
Yeah, no, away at Optus. It's never... I get with North as well. Tracy takes a courageous mark. Jackson wins it for us. But North's midfield was really good that day. Shame they can't play like that every week, because they've got the tools there. But yeah, it started a weird run of wins. Like the week after that, we beat Essendon by 41 points, 104-63. But again, beat them by 100.
Yeah, exactly. They were you look at the teams on paper that day. It is a 100-point win in the making. People were genuinely debating whether Fremantle would win by 50 or 100. Like, it was a locked-in, just absolute belting. And we sort of we tinkered with them. We kept them in the game. And kicked a few late, win by 40. But again, as you said, just put them away for fuck's sake.
Yeah, that is the thing next year. Like, our game style has to evolve, and we'll get onto that in the back end of the podcast. It's going to be a long one, but you look at teams like Geelong, like Hawthorn, Gold Coast even, Brisbane, they pump teams. Like, having a 7-goal win for one of the teams that I just mentioned is a pretty regular occurrence, even against good teams. Like, all the games that we won this year against good teams were close games, which is good. We'll take it. But we have to take it to that next level. We just do. And that's going to be the expectation going forward. The week after, St Kilda at home. They lost to West Coast at this ground, and they probably should have beaten us. They were probably the better team. Again, their midfield chopped us up. I don't know how that happens when we have the midfielders that we do. That our midfield has to improve, man. Like, from where we were last year to where we are now, I don't know if we've just been found out what it is, but we have to improve. I think it was Jack Higgins that kicked the first goal of the fourth quarter for the Saints, if I'm remembering correctly. And I was like, man, we are going to have to dig deep here to get the win. Who won it for us that day? Oh, it was the Rucks, wasn't it? It was Darcy and Dogger.
This was a game where this was Sean Darcy's best game of the year, and there was a period of build for Sean Darcy leading up into this. We were like, okay, he's improving, he's slowly getting back into it. Then the Saints game for me was just like, bang, okay, Sean Darcy's back. That's his best game since he was playing consistently and playing at his best, and God knows how long ago that was. So, yeah, I mean, Sean Darcy's game was huge that day, and Luke Jackson kicked that goal after the siren to sort of seal the game, went and high-fived the crowd. But yeah, it was, again, we were minus 15 clearances. I'm not sure what it was, and as you said, have we been found out? I'm not sure. Our midfield, we've had some really good midfield coaches over the years. You know, Josh Carr, Matthew Boyd, we mentioned them earlier. But I'm not sure if it's a coaching thing, or I'm not sure if these midfielders just aren't adapting to change in that role as well as they should be. But yeah, it's a weird thing. We've got to find the right profile next year. We've got to find a consistent midfield mix that we're picking week in, week out, bar injury. Because the Merriman's probably going to leave our injury list in tatters. We've got to find a set profile that we're picking most weeks that can actually just go and do the job, because we've got the superstar talent, we've always said it, but where's the guy putting in the blocks and the shepherds and putting his body on the line to benefit our superstars? They're the guys that we really need to just know their role in 2026, and I feel like we had too many midfielders that were just going and playing out there for themselves this year.
Well, I feel like Brayshaw is that guy. I feel like he is the best in the competition at doing those things. Like, I would say Jordan Clark's the best two-way defender in the league, and I'd say Andrew Brayshaw is the best two-way forward in the competition. So I would say that's Andrew Brayshaw. But you look at the best midfields in the competition, look probably to Gold Coast, and say Gold Coast, Brisbane, and the Bulldogs maybe. You pretty much know exactly who's going to be at centre bounce for them. Like, Gold Coast, it's always going to be Anderson, Rao, Miller. So it's always going to be Anderson, Rao, and then it'll be one of Miller or Davies or Fiorini. Something like that, or Flanders, right? Like, but you've got those two constants. And for the most part, we will always have Sarong, Young, Brayshaw, whatever. But, like, yeah, I'm not a football coach, so I don't know. But I feel like there's times in games where, our starting three is always going to be Brayshaw, Young, Sarong. But, like, there'll be a time where Erasmus is on the wing, and then Erasmus is at centre bounce, and then Wagner's in there, and then Shea's in there, and then, I don't know, it's a hard one. And then around the ground stoppages, obviously, it's a whole different kettle of fish. But like you said, we need to mature just in our ability to get back to our best, because we've displayed such high capabilities as a midfield group. We struggled in that stat again the next week against the Swans, where we lost.
Yeah.
Tough game. It genuinely was a good game. We lose by 2 goals to the grand finalists. It was a much better performance than it was when we lost to them earlier in the year. I was in Istanbul that day. Went to the Blue Mosque, walked past the Hagia Sophia, and that was all I can remember from that day, really.
I can't remember too much more than that, to be honest. As you said, it was a good game. Like, I actually think we played well. We were probably due a loss at the time as well, because the winning streak we were on was a bit silly, and we weren't playing backward football leading into it. So it was sort of like, okay, we've got this loss out of the way, and now pull your fingers out. And we ended up doing that in the weeks after.
Yeah, well, you said you couldn't really remember much about that game. I couldn't remember much about the Hawthorn game because I was in Budapest out until 4 a.m. Woke up, pissed as a whistle, And I missed the first sort of half of the Freo Hawks game, but that was a good win. That was a finals-like game from watching it on my laptop. It just seemed like the intensity was really high. We hemmed them in our front half. Heavy pressure. Sam Switkowski doing his thing. It was a small forward show that day from what I can remember. But that, you hit July and you got to start playing good footy, and it felt like that Hawthorn game at home, a team that's still in it to win it now. That was a really good win.
Yeah, absolutely. It was one of those games again where we went down the line a lot that day and played very, very safe, and we found ourselves in a really bad position, 3/4 time and towards the start of the fourth quarter. But that was so rewarding, that win. I can't even explain that. That run we went on from about 15 minutes to go in the last to just grind ourselves over the line. Again, you look at it, it was wet for parts of that day. And we only won 77-64. It was really low scoring, and 12 goals 5. It was just the classic case of taking your chances and you win a football match. We were super clinical in front of goal that day, which has been very unfair-like in recent years. So yeah, there's that famous image of Andy Brayshaw with claret pouring out of every part of his body. He had 14 tackles that day. Just put his body on the line at every possible instance, and yeah, he sort of highlighted what that type of win was. It was just to get in there, get the job done. Nothing fancy, nothing pretty about it, but it was beating a really good, tough finals-like team in a finals-like atmosphere, and we rose to the occasion in a game where some questioned if we would.
Yep, well said. Come from behind win. We did it again next week. Couldn't believe my eyes as I was on the train to Munich from Bratislava. Paddy Voss taking the piss, kicked 6 goals at the MCG in front of about 70,000 people, made Darcy Moore look like a mop. Yeah, we had no right to win that game. Statistically, field position, clearances, it was an absolute outlier of a 4-point haul, as in 4 premiership points. But yeah, absolutely unreal to get over the line. Early in the fourth quarter, we're pretty tired. Had to get up to get to the Bratislava train station at 7 o'clock. And they kick a couple in the fourth. And I'm sat next to Sean, and Sean goes, "Turn it off. We're not going to win. We need to get some shut-eye before we're getting some Steins and pork knuckles into us." So, head goes down on the train, and I'm like, I'll keep it on in my ears, but I'm not going to keep watching it. I'll just listen to the commentary. I think O'Meara got one, and I was like, "Sean, we got one." And then we got another one. We got one. And then Bailey Banfield unleashes the best kick of his career into Hayden Young. And then we go a bloody minute at the G. That is one of the most iconic wins in recent memory.
I think that's our best win since the 2013 qualifying final, to be honest. I think that was
biggest.
Yeah, in
belief,
terms of the occasion, you over the course of a season, you can call so many wins famous and iconic and unbelievable. And I look back at some now, and I'm like, yeah, okay, some of these were good wins. But then you've got this Collingwood game, which is just such an outlier. This was elation. This was a game, like you said, we had absolutely zero right to win on the stat sheet, on the team sheet, in front of that crowd, given how much our backs were against the wall. It just made no sense. For 3 quarters, our defense was under the most ridiculous siege that it's ever been under. Brennan Cox and Oscar McDonald, absolute heroes that day for how well they held down the fort as the key backs. And it is just, you can't even really single out players that really dragged us over the line. Caleb Strong was unbelievable that day, but it was just, as you mentioned, a guy like Bailey Banfield playing his role unbelievably. Hayden Young, he had to play a role that day. He was sub, he came on and made a massive difference. Luke Jackson, his versatility showed. He made a massive difference around the ball and then floated forward at the end and kicked the winner. Nathan O'Driscoll, in that last minute, put his body on the line about 5 times and sort of killed the game for us. He was phenomenal towards the end. So there are so many players that... I think we said it in the pod after, from memory. There wasn't a single passenger that day. Just every single player played their role to the absolute max. And that's... what it results in usually. It results in 4 points. And yeah, that was elation after that game. And I don't think the belief had ever been higher. There wasn't a world in which we wouldn't be there on the last Saturday in September.
The backs holding up that day was a bit of a theme for the back end of the year. We went and played West Coast, won by 49. Again, 18 goals, 18. Imagine just 4 of those are goals. Just another, 20 points, and we beat them by 69.
Oh, great.
69.
Yeah.
That's funny. And then I think, did we play, was it Carlton? Yeah, Carlton the week after. Another game where the back just held up. Just have so much faith in Alex Pearce just jostling for possession with a key forward, and Brendan Cox just coming over. Statue of Liberty spoil. Statue of Liberty intercept mark. I love Brendan Cox. We share a last name, and we share a passion for the back six of the Fremantle Football Club. Just started finding ways to win in this part of the year. Watched that one in Amsterdam, and then Alex Pearce swings forward the week after, takes an inspirational grab. That first quarter against Port Adelaide was probably the best quarter we played in a while. The second quarter was probably the worst quarter we played in a while. And then the Alex Pearce moment was the best individual moment in a game we had in a while. You should talk now because you haven't spoken in a while.
Yeah, well, I was about to fall asleep there, mate. Thank you. That first quarter was absolutely ridiculous, and it just highlights the point we were making earlier. Can we put a team away? Because that second quarter was so bad. It was 8 goals to 3, and I don't think I've seen a team score past us at ease like that in a very, very long time. Our backline, I mean, it was Ange ball, I'll be honest. They were playing at the halfway line, they were playing a high line, and they forgot how to defend. They forgot their trade. It was such a tough watch, that second quarter, and you weren't questioning the actual team within the game, but you look back at it after, and you're like, or after the season in particular, and you look back at all the games that make up the season, where we could have made up percentage and made top 4. And you're like, geez, it's another one of those. It's another one of those that may have cost us the season in the long run. Like, yes, we won the game in the end, and Alex Pearce had that ridiculous mark and whatnot, but just the ability to have those in-game consistencies in 2026 will take us to that next level. It's not like we haven't shown our best football, that we can beat the best in enough stages throughout 2025. It's just showing it for at least 3 quarters minimum. Ideally 4 quarters more often in 2026. But that game, it was unbelievable. In the last, Caleb Strong had a big game yet again. It's another one of those games where Caleb Strong doesn't get tagged. He drags Fremantle over the line. Caleb Strong gets tagged, Fremantle lose. It was a pretty simple formula that some teams just didn't follow for some reason.
Can you remember that second half from Murphy Reid that day? Wow.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned it earlier, those silly handballs he does over his head. He did it about 4 times that day. And, I mean, the goal from the pocket, all the score involvements.
He kicked one from 50 as well.
Exactly. What else can we say about him? Like, we've done 30 episodes of this podcast. I think I've run out of things to say about him. Like, I'll see you for the first step next year if you want to talk about Murphy Reid anymore. Like, he is so good. We've covered everything.
Vossi shushing the Port Adelaide fans. Absolutely iconic. And we're almost there. We didn't show up against Brisbane at home. Super frustrating. Sort of crumbled. Just a bit nervous with the pressure. What are you giggling away at?
Oh, no.
Yeah, good. And and then it was do or die last game of the season, and I've said it a lot, best win of the year, but that second quarter against the Western Bulldogs, we looked electric. Don't know how much, the truth of how good we were probably lies between we are the best football team to ever play football and the Western Bulldogs have a defence made of chopsticks. But nevertheless, great win. And another game where across the park we were phenomenal, and we got into finals from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that game wasn't too long ago now. It was the game which was the final tone setter for finals. Obviously, we had to win to make finals, but after that game, we're like, geez, if we can play with that amount of dare that we did in the second quarter in particular, in finals for 4 quarters, then we could do anything in September. We did do something in September. It just wasn't a lot. But that game was, I think you're probably right in terms of it was our best win of the year. That Giants game is still my favourite win of the year, just because of the brand of football we played for 4 quarters. But in terms of the best win of the year, finals-like environment, you were there. I saw on TV how amazing that atmosphere looked. I can only imagine what it would have been like to be inside
Winning at
there.
Marvel as well. We just never really show up to Marvel,
Yeah.
so that was promising. Something that I didn't mention before, I wrote it down on the Port game, was the emergence of Neil Erasmus in the back end of the year.
Yeah.
Signed a 3-year contract last week. And yeah, we've spoke about him quite a lot recently. But yeah, there's his ability to intercept around the ground, good with the ball in hand, front of centre. His ability to kick goals as well has begun to emerge. So I really like the way that he links up with Sarong and Young. And I think Young, Murphy Reid and Neil Erasmus are really going to be the players that we get the most growth out of to make us a better offensive machine. We headed into finals and we lost. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Sorry, just quickly back on Raz before we head to the sad part of the podcast. Raz had 6 intercept possessions that day. I think it was the second most for Freo against Port Adelaide. He obviously had 28 touches of his own. Did he hit the scoreboard that day? I believe he did. Did he
Against
not?
Port?
Against Port, yeah. He
I'll
may
check
have not.
that.
He
You
hit
keep
the
talking.
scoreboard towards the end of the year. But it was one of those days where it's the intercept possessions in particular that I want to talk about. He can play midfield, and I'm sure in the exit meetings he'll be saying, I want to play more midfield, and we want to see him in the midfield more given the abilities he has in there and the profile of midfielder that we need, that he fits. But his ability to play as a defensive winger, his versatility is only going to grow his game in the future. I think as a defensive winger, he played some really, really crucial parts towards the back end of the year. He played that role in the Bulldogs game as well, which was absolutely massive. Yeah, I think Raz is primed for a huge 2026, and I'm so happy that he's found this second half of the year breakout, which a lot of us were hoping we'd see. A lot of us had lost hope we'd ever see. He sort of just felt like that in and out player that was eventually going to move to another club. We didn't know if he was an AFL talent. We may have just thought he was a really good waffle talent, just not quite there at AFL level, but I'm sure there isn't a single Fremantle fan that isn't happy to see the breakout of Raz in the second half of the year. It was so good to see, and his versatility is just going to be so big into going into his future.
I've spoke about how much he's starting to sort of emulate traits of Andrew Brayshaw, and his ability to hit the scoreboard in the back end of the year was impressive. And then like in that Port game, he took some back with the flight marks from the wing. So once his, I think, endurance and as he matures at AFL level and has more confidence in that wing role, he could be an absolute gun. If he can balance out the defensive side with the offensive side, think of a player like Blake Acres in his prime, Ed Langdon, two Freo players. I don't even mean to talk Freo players, but they're probably 2 of the better wingers in the last 5 years off the top of my head. So yeah, good on Neil. Had a breakout sort of back end of the year. I don't really think we actually have to talk about the Gold Coast game, and I'm not just saying that because I don't want to talk about it.
Go back to last pod. Like, who cares? Like,
yeah. Worst part about that was seeing Nathan Fyfe retire, and we pretty much dedicated the whole last episode to that. So there is the season. Tick, tick, tick. We've done all that. Did you watch the Joe Brighty press conference last week?
I literally watch every single press conference Fremantle put out, and I just haven't had time to watch the Joe Brighty one. So fill me in. What did he say?
He's a well-spoken man. Spoke about the prospect of bringing Lachie Neale back. Didn't seem too keen on it because he spoke about how many players in the exit meeting said they want to play more midfield time. What else did he allude to?
Judd McVie, I heard.
Yeah, he sort of said that we're going to put our hat in the ring for any player that we think can improve our football club. I don't think we're going to have a massive off-season. But, I'd like to see if we can just show some interest in a Brody Myercheck. Show a bit for like a Judd McVie. Imagine if our wings were Judd McVie and Neil Erasmus. Like, that is just 2 solid, good, smart footballers. It's a good watch. So go and watch it. I can't sort of summarize everything he said off the top of my head. Heading into next year, Noah, what needs to change? How can we evolve?
The coach, the players, everything.
New coach.
Yeah, exactly.
New players.
Sack 'em all. I think the number one thing that everyone's sort of going on top of is the brand of football. And I fell victim into playing into JL's right in the back end of the year, and I was on board with the break teams down, long down the line percentage sort of football. And in the end, it's just not going to stack up in finals. And that's what, whether you were on JL's side or whether you weren't, I think we've all learned at the end of the day that brand is not going to stack up when the cracks get whipping. I hope that's the saying. Have I stuffed that
When
one
the
up?
whips get cracking.
The whips get cracking. Close. But, yeah, I think that's the obvious one. So we were talking about the fitness of the team earlier, and that was one of our main things. That was one of our main sort of selling points in the brand that JL was playing, is that we go long down the line. We go to a contest where we've got tools there, and we just absolutely wear opposition defenses down, because we know at the end of the day, no matter how big the margin is, we can claw ourselves back in it, because we'll be able to run the other team down. We've got the players to, and we've seen it at times throughout the year, we've got the players to play this really damaging, unstoppable, quick corridor-driven style of football. At the moment, it feels like JL is driving a car that can go 150 k's an hour, and he's driving it at about 80. Like, he's got the resources, but he's just not using them to the best of his ability. So that's where I'm not questioning his job, but after that Saints game, we sort of questioned whether, JL's taken us this list as far as it can get. Do we need another coach to take us that extra little way? Now, I'm not saying that JL isn't the man that can take us all the way, but one more year, if JL goes in and plays that same brand of football right from the get-go, then I think the answer will be, or the question will be answered about whether we need someone else to go and take us to that extra level, because there's no excuses from round one in 2026 to play quick and attractive brand of football. We've got an entire off-season ahead of us. Let's go and instill it, and let's go and attack the season in that way.
Yeah, well, I don't want to be the negative Nancy here, but JL could be sacked next year if things go poorly. That's just the reality of the situation and the business that we operate in. Speaking of that, we've seen that we can play that fast corridor football. I think we need to give more license to guys like Carl Warner and Heath Chapman to take the game on from half back, because that is what got the game on our terms against Gold Coast. Just a bit of run and carry, taking the game on. The ball movement from the back half is the biggest part of our game that needs to evolve, because we can't keep just doing this long down the line shit. Like, obviously, there's going to be times where you can do that. It's the easiest way. We know we can tap into that, like, if we need to, but we need to back in our skills. We need to take those risks. Just look at finals football, man. Look at how Hawthorn played. Like, they are just corridor, foot skills, just backing in the talent of players as well. Yeah, like, look at what players like Nick Watson and Connor McDonald and Jack Ginnivan were doing in that final against Adelaide. Like, they were just swagging, just straight go and play footy, like playoff instinct. And when you got players like Murphy Reed, Hayden Young, Josh Tracy, I'd love to say Jai Amos, but he had an absolute stinker of a year. I think he can play off instinct, but yeah, that's where the game needs to evolve. As for Jai Amos, on the topic of Jai Amos, he was spoken about a lot this year. Apparently, in his exit meeting, this is what Joe said in his press conference. He said Amos sort of expressed, I don't know what the word is. He's basically not happy with the role that he's playing. So he's always the deepest forward. I've said this for a while. I think he played his best footy when he was like a high forward, because I think he's good with his skills. But obviously, like, Tracy and Voss are going to make a contest sort of and connect us better with the physicality side of it. Like, they're obviously more likely to win a one-on-one and get it into Amos. But, yeah, just an interesting point there. Well,
the thing is with Amos, right, this is the question he's got to ask himself now. The way we play our forward line, we've got 3 tall forward spots up for grabs. We've got the link-up key forward, we've got the anchor key forward, the main guy, and we've got the deepest key forward. So our link-up in the back end of the year when we were playing our best football was Josh Tracy, and he's played that role fantastically. The main guy, the anchor, is Pat Voss. He played that role fantastically. If Jai Amos thinks he can play that role better than those two, then show it. But if not, he's not in the best 22, because we can't just be forcing a bloke into the team just because we want to. If he's not the best guy to fill the void of the deepest forward, we've got to either find someone else within the club or we've got to go out and search for someone in the market. And that's why I really like your shout of a Brody Myercheck or something, just to give a bit of extra competition. A guy like Myercheck or any other key forward of that mould would have the body to play deeper and to be able to take out the opposition's best key forward or key back. Because a lot of the time, the oppo's best key back is the deepest defender. And we saw that in the final against Gold Coast. Jai Amos just did not have the physical capabilities to match up with Sam Collins. He got given an absolute bath. So I think Jai Amos has got to ask himself, can I play the high forward role better than Voss or Tracy? If not, then he's not in the team, in my eyes.
Yeah. Yep. He had to have been dropped at some point this year, and he wasn't. Like, just 4 disposal games. Again, we're not going to get on the Jai Amos train. Sam Sturt had a shocking year with injury.
Yeah.
Did he do an ACL? Or did he have to get like a knee operation or something?
I think it was a knee reconstruction. So we're not going to see him back till like at least the second half of next year. Like, it's going to be a fair while. So he's not really even in the conversations. Poor old Sturdy had a brilliant 2024. And we're basically going to have to forget about him for about two years. And even then, like, if we want to fill the void of the deepest forward, it's not like Sam Sturt's build's going to do much more than Jai Amos. Like, Sturdy's going to play more of a medium-sized...
No, but he can play that link-up. So he could send Tracy deep.
Yeah.
You know?
He could, but then you think about the size Tracy brings in that link-up role. It's not something you really want to lose up the ground.
Yeah, but I think Sturt's like a bit of a smart player. Like, he's sort of... He doesn't really have to make a contest, but he puts himself in the right areas. So, I don't know. We need, more depth in that forward line, for sure. Mm-hmm. Because, if Tracy goes down... Say, the Merriman's gone and we have an injury crisis. Blimey, trousers, you cat. What are we going to do?
Omac, Charlie Nichols. Oh, boy.
Dude.
We've got no one.
Blimey, trousers. Yeah, no one. So, it's going to be a big off-season. Like, I feel like our best 22 is very solid. But like you said, depth gets tested. We need to find our best mix of mids. I think the backline stood up really well. Corey Wagner was another massive part of our season. So big ups to Corey Wagner, Paddy Voss, the emergence of him. All right, let's just have a look at our list real quick.
Yep.
I'm gonna have a look at our team. Just the team that played Gold Coast.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say some names that will definitely be there on grand final day if we make the grand final in the next 3 years, right?
I had this conversation the other day with one of my mates, so this is interesting.
This is going to be fun. Here we go. All right, so Cox will be there. Ryan will probably be there. Pierce will be there. Health, obviously, Chapman, I expect to be there. Can he push up to a wing in 2026? I'd like to see it. I would really like to see it. Geordie Clark will be there. Warner, in some capacity, will be there.
Could be there.
Right? Now, I'm thinking O'Meara, not there. I don't think he will be. Mm-hmm. Shea Bolton will be there. Neil Erasmus in some capacity, yes. Dudley, not sure, probably not. Amos, not sure, probably not. Fife's gone. O'Driscoll, probably fringe. Banfield, no. So those are the areas that we can improve. That is the depth in our list that needs to be improved. Like, we don't want... Like, that's our best 22 that we can bring into a final. Like, those players need to be, like, 33, 34, 35th best player on your list. They can't be starting in a final.
Yeah, absolutely. I look at our bottom 6 of that final team, and it's really... That's not the best team we've put out in 2025, which is the unfortunate thing. I think we definitely found better mixes throughout the year. So I tend to agree with you on most of those, to be honest. Like, Jager had a really good back end of the year. And I think at the start of the year, he was actually one of the only players who was actually finding the ball. So he had 32 touches in the first game of the year. I think he had a couple more at the start where he had 30 plus. So when Bradshaw and Strong couldn't find it, Jager was. So he had a good start to the year. And I think he played an important, more experienced role towards the back end. I think he was sacrificing his own accumulation for the better of the team. But I agree. I think it's going to be very hard to see a guy like O'Meara getting in over it. I mean, Johnson wasn't there, and he's a big body that's going to... for the most part, that's actually a good talking point, Matt Johnson, because we were talking about the need for a big body in the midfield a little bit earlier. We had it all year in Matt Johnson, yet he didn't really play in the way that we needed him to. He didn't really understand his role, I don't think. I think he wanted to be on the same level as a Sarong or a Brayshaw or a Young when he's playing and actually accumulate the ball and do something with it. Do we need to see Matt Johnson play a bit more of a selfless role next year in order for him to sort of solidify himself in that 22?
100%. Good point. Matthew Johnson, big body, good mark, good tackle. Just do that. Be a Josh Dunkley.
Yeah.
Because you cannot kick the ball. Cannot kick. Like, he could spend from now until whenever the first game of the season is, trying to get his kicks the most penetrating as possible, and he still won't be anywhere near as good of a kick as Murphy Reid, Neil Erasmus, Hayden Young, Caleb Saronga. It just, he hasn't got a good kick on him. And that's all right.
Lots of players don't. Like, Josh Dunkley
strengths.
is not one of the best kicks in the Brisbane Lions team. He'd be quite down there. But he just knows his role. He broke the finals tackles record last night or whatever. That's what he does. He puts his own game on the back burner to sort of let the McCluggages and the Lockie Neals, or Lockie Neal didn't play, and the Will Ashcrofts and all those types of guys to have better games. So, yeah, it's certainly a role that Matt Johnson's got to take up next year.
Become a defensive mid, Jono, and just don't kick the ball. But that'll come from our game plan evolving, taking the game on. Can we just see Jordan Clark, Cooper Simpson, Heath Chapman and Carl Warner run past the bloke and get a handball receive?
Oh.
If you can do that, Jono, you're best 22. You're in.
Exactly. Imagine you've just got Jordan Clark. You've got a kick out. You've got Luke Ryan taking it. Or I said it in the last pod. I like Heath Chapman taking kick outs. You've got Heath Chapman taking the kick out. He has a little dash out the goal square. He finds Neil Erasmus on halfback, a little option. Neil Erasmus, he's scouting around. Neil Erasmus, he sees Matt Johnson in the middle of the ground. He pings it to Matt Johnson. It's a one-on-one, and Jono takes a strong contested mark. Matt Johnson, he's got the ball for less than a second because Geordie Clark's gone down the left of him. Carl Warner's gone down the right of him. He finds a little handball to one side, and then we've got forwards for days leading because we've got the outnumber forward of the ball, and bang, one of those halfbacks has hit up one of our forwards. We've just got to play more like that. Like that, just to a T. I want to see it every single time.
I can't believe we've actually just figured out how we need to play. You're a genius, Noah.
Exactly.
You're an absolute genius.
What can I say?
Matt Johnson with the ball in hand was just a turnover merchant, but he can evolve, and we just discussed how. And that is the 2025 Fremantle Dockers season review. That was fun. That was good. I hope we painted a good picture for you guys. It hurts that we're not in finals, but hey, that's footy for you. One day we'll win a flag, but it's not this year.
We won't.
No, it's been a lot of fun. We've sort of thanked you guys a lot this year, but we'll thank you again. Building the community. It's been great doing this podcast every week with Noah. Always look forward to it. Just being able to, when I used to go home from Subi, I used to just chuck on the radio and you'd get 2 minutes of talk about the Dockers game. But just being able to bring all the fans together to be able to talk and have an open conversation and something that isn't from the club about our club that we all love. It's a nice little platform, and I'm proud of what we've done here, Noah. So give yourself a pat on the back.
Oh, I will, mate. You too. It's certainly a little bit of a tangent here, but I reckon we've both gone home from Optus a lot of the time, and we may have done a match day vlog or something, but it doesn't really encapsulate our true thoughts on the game, and we don't really know the gauge of what the fans are saying, apart from in our inner circle. We'll know what our mates are saying and we know what our family's saying, but we don't really know what the wider community say because there's never really been a platform for it. You'll hear Fox Footy, you'll hear Channel 7, and you'll hear your inner circle. But apart from that, there's never really been anything. So we saw something that wasn't there in the Fremantle fan community, and we hope you've enjoyed using it to your advantage.
Bloody oath. We're going to do a player review next week. So going through every player that played on the list and giving that a bit of a wrap. But the podcast will be a bit less frequent after that. Plenty of trade and draft stuff, content will come out. But let's wrap it up there, Noah. Thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, please leave a like, hop in the comments, and make sure you subscribe to join the Freo Faithful community. We'll see you next week. Until then, take care. And who are you going for in the rest of the finals? Quick one. Who wins it?
I mean, there's not a good option. Give
No,
me Collingwood.
Collingwood. All right, I'll go Geelong. See you next time.